Welcome to this explainer. Okay, so when we think of the Anopheles mosquito, we usually just picture, a summer barbecue nuisance, right? Maybe an itchy bite. But today, we're completely reframing that. We're going to dive into the complex life of Anopheles, looking at it not just as a pest, but as this highly evolved biological marvel. It has literally mastered the art of survival and transmission.
But before we get into the biology, let's talk numbers. 212 million. That is the staggering estimated number of global malaria cases in 2015 alone, which resulted in 429,000 deaths. I really want to establish this right off the bat because these are massive, real-world stakes. Understanding this insect, it's not just some academic exercise. It is absolutely crucial for global survival.
Now get ready to have your mind blown, because this completely flips our standard human-centric paradigm. In biological terms, humans are actually just a temporary, intermediate stop for the malaria parasite. The definitive host, the organism where the adult, sexually mature stage of the parasite actually lives, is the Anopheles mosquito. That is its true home. We're basically just a vehicle for its asexual reproduction, while the mosquito gets to host the main event. Crazy, right?
Meet the ultimate vector. To truly understand how malaria spreads, we have to look at this mosquito as a masterful operative, one that's perfectly designed for a biological heist.
Here she is in action, and notice I say she because it's actually only the female that bites. She is a highly specialized machine built exclusively for hematophagy, which is just a fancy way of saying she feeds on blood. And look, she doesn't do it out of malice. She literally requires the protein in our blood to nourish her eggs.
To pull off this heist, she relies on an absolutely incredible evolutionary arsenal. First, she uses olfactory and gustatory receptors that act like advanced tracking gear, picking up scents from our nasal cavity and taste from the papillae on her tongue so she can locate us fast. Then, her head region is structurally modified into a breaching tool to pierce our skin and draw blood right from the vessels. But here's the kicker. Her salivary proteins act as a countermeasure to our immune system. They provide anticoagulants so our blood just keeps on flowing, while iron regulatory proteins make sure she doesn't get iron poisoning from all that hemoglobin. Talk about being heavily equipped.
And her operational habits? They're just as distinct as her anatomy. Unlike other mosquitoes that rest parallel to a surface, the Anopheles actually rests indoors at this very distinct 45-degree angle. She's also a highly tactical hunter. She operates mostly at dusk, making her crepuscular, or strictly at night as a nocturnal feeder. And when it comes time to lay those eggs, she entirely bypasses polluted water. Instead, she seeks out shallow, sunlit, clear, natural waters.
The human invasion. Let's look at the exact moment she bites an uninfected person, kicking off what is known as the exoerythrocytic phase.
Just trace the path of the parasite here. From the moment of the bite, it slips directly from her saliva into the human bloodstream, moving swiftly and purposefully straight to the liver. It's an incredibly fast, stealthy insertion that completely bypasses our external defenses.
Operating completely under the radar, the mosquito injects these spindle-shaped sporozoites. They immediately travel to the liver and start hijacking our own hepatocytes, our liver cells. Then, for about 8 days, they secretly undergo this rapid asexual reproduction, forming what are called schizonts. The really chilling takeaway here, during this entire phase, the infected person feels completely fine. The parasite is just in there, multiplying entirely out of sight.
But, well, there is a pretty terrifying exception to this 8-day timeline. Some species of the parasite, specifically Plasmodium vivax and Plasmodium ovale, produce what we call hypnozoites. You can kind of think of these as dormant sleeper agents. As the quote says, they are dormant liver stage forms that can persist in the liver after an initial infection and cause relapses of malaria at later times, meaning they can linger in your liver for weeks, months, or even years after that initial bite, just waiting to reactivate and cause a sudden, devastating relapse.
So once those liver cells finally burst, the parasite floods right into the red blood cells. Now, up until now, the heist was completely silent. But the moment this intraerythrocytic phase begins, when the red blood cells are invaded to breed new parasites, that is when the classic, debilitating symptoms of malaria finally hit the human host.
Inside the mosquito, the final act. Because remember, the human is just the intermediate host. The heist isn't over yet. Let's see how this whole thing comes full circle. Imagine a second, completely uninfected Anopheles mosquito lands on our now infected human host. She takes a blood meal, and in doing so, she ingests the parasite's gametocytes, which are its sexual forms, sucking them right back up into her gut.
This kicks off a highly organized sexual reproduction stage inside the mosquito's gut.
First, the male microgametocytes become hyperactive, dividing into 8 nuclei with flagella and fusing with the females, the macrogametes, to form a zygote. This zygote then insists into an oocyst right beneath the mosquito's gut wall, rapidly multiplying into thousands of new sporozoids. Finally, they break out and rush to her salivary glands. Depending on the temperature, this entire massively complex biological transformation takes just 10 to 24 hours.
And just like that, the biological operation is complete. Those thousands of newly formed sporozoites are fully matured, highly motile, and just patiently waiting in the mosquito's salivary glands. The weapon is loaded. She is officially primed and ready to infect the very next human she bites.
So it really leaves us with this massive question. How do we break a biological chain that has spent millions of years perfecting itself? I mean, from anticoagulant saliva to dormant sleeper agents hiding in our livers, every single step is an absolute masterclass in survival. Outsmarting this ultimate vector isn't just about swatting a pest, it's about untangling one of nature's most resilient knots. Thank you so much for joining this explainer today, and keep questioning the complex world around you.